In this tutorial, I'll explain how to take photographs which will work well in GenHead and show some examples of good and bad images. GenHead accepts photographs in these image formats. You can use JPEG, bitmap, TIFF or PNG images for your photographs. Regarding cameras, we would suggest that a minimum of about 1 megapixel is required, and most modern digital cameras will easily exceed this. A larger size image will be better up to a point, and we would typically use a 3 to 5 megapixel camera. But after that you won't get as much benefit from larger images because the texture will be limited mainly by the size of the output texture, depending on the application. So an ordinary mid-range digital camera should be fine. In terms of how to take the photographs, ideally the camera should be further away from the subject if possible, and then zoom in so that the face fills the image. It's also helpful to rotate the image so that it's in portrait mode, as the face fills the image better this way. In terms of lighting, the ideal type of light is a flat, diffuse light. The idea is to try and minimize the highlights and shadows in the image. Taking photos outside on a bright but cloudy day can work quite well. Failing that, any type of symmetric, even lighting will do. We're often asked whether you can use mobile phone cameras for taking pictures for GenHead. The answer is that you can, but the problem is with the optics in them. The sizes of the images are usually quite adequate these days. Because mobile phone cameras have very small lenses at small fixed focal lengths, then you have to be quite close to the subject to get the head a decent size in the image, and that will introduce distortion. And here you can see the kind of problem, not really getting much view of the ears and the top of the head. And when this is put into GenHead, it will be noticeable that the features near the face are larger and so on, just because of the perspective of the photograph. So here are some examples of good and bad heads. This is a well-framed photograph. The head's quite large in the image, but you can still see the top of the head and the bottom of the neck. It doesn't matter if there's a bit of clothing there. Here, this isn't as good as it could be. The top of the head's chopped off and there's not quite enough neck showing. And again, in the profile image, here you've got the top of the head, the back of the head and the neck, whereas here you're missing the back of the head. With hair, it's better if it can be tucked back or tied back if possible. Ideally what you want is to be able to see the shape of the ear in the profile image and have as little as possible of the hair around this area so that you've got a plain texture to work with. This photograph will do, but you would have to guess in GenHead where the ear is, and there's more hair around the chin and neck area which may come through on the finished head. This is a nicely framed shot again. The subject is looking directly at the camera, but in this photograph they're wearing glasses. Again, you want to be able to remove jewellery, glasses, accessories and so on, because otherwise they'll be in the finished head. Here there's a problem because the subject is looking to one side, and similarly if they're looking up. There are tools in GenHead for correcting a certain amount of rotation in a photograph, but obviously you can only do that in the plane of the image, so these kind of problems will introduce distortions into the heads. That concludes this tutorial. If you need any further help with photographs, please see our website or contact us at support@genimation.com.